All right, thank you everybody for joining us for another episode of Advisor Access. We are joined today by the lovely and fabulous Kate Moore, and we are here to talk about her awesome trip to Italy. And so, Kate, welcome to Advisor Access. I'm so excited to chat with you today about your trip and your adventure. But before we dive in, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and how you came to Avenue 2 Travel?
Yes, thank you, Carissa. So I have been with Avenue 2 for about 2 years now. I actually wanted to reach out because they're members of Virtuoso. So I wanted to be part of that #1 consortium. And then the family dynamic that Avenue 2 brings just is a really wonderful environment. Everyone's very collaborative. And just knowing that the owners are still involved, seeing the way that they have plans for the future really resonated with the way that I wanted to grow my business.
I love it. I love it. And where are you geographically based? Because I know I'm sitting here in California and the office is in Pennsylvania, but where are you based?
Yeah, I'm in Virginia. So I'm near the beach, about 2 hours from the mountains. So we have a little bit of both here. We have a good little location to start from.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So let's dive into your trip. So you traveled to Italy in the autumn, which is such a beautiful time of year to be in Italy. The colors are changing. It's less crowded. It's less hot. Let's dive right in and walk us through sort of how you got there. We can sort of tackle the elephant in the room before we get off with, of course, we're coming at the tail end of the pandemic. And were there anything that you had to do special related to that prior to departure?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did at the time have to test before entry, which was a very smooth process, no issues. There was just a small check mark on your boarding pass, and then you were good to go. Other than that, the trip felt very normal. So I would say the region that I visited is known to be off the beaten path. It's not overly promoted. And typically we do say that, it's maybe like a third or fourth trip to Italy. So when you're going to the Northwest region, you may have already fallen in love with Italy. You may have done some of those Florence, Venice, some of those more Rome, those popular destinations. And then this really does become that trip where you want to return. So that's just kind of a way to start to know that typically it's not as crowded here. There's a lot of open spaces. So if that's still something you're considering with the pandemic to make sure you're away from the crowds, it's a great option to consider on your travel list.
Fabulous. And as you mentioned perfectly, Italy is never a single trip destination. I certainly don't know anyone who's been once and said, okay, we've ticked that off. We don't need to go back. It's usually, I wish I'd stayed longer. I wish I'd spent more time. When can I go back? Is the immediate conversation that happens after that.
It's definitely one country with multiple countries inside. So plenty of reasons to return.
Plenty. And I'm sure you get the sense of fear and foreboding when a client says they want to do everything in 10 days. Like, no, pick one or two places and spend 10 days. Don't try and do it all. So
absolutely.
So as you mentioned, you were in Northern Italy. So how did you've obviously been to Italy previously. How did you pick this particular part of Italy for this trip?
Absolutely. So this was actually my 6th time in Italy. So I was very excited to do some of the lesser known regions. So I went into Milan, flew in there, and then it was about an hour and a half ride from me from the train station. The nice thing with Milan is the train station is on ground -1 in the airport. So you don't have to leave. You can get right on your train. If you take a fast train, though, you can get to Turin or Torino in about 40 minutes. So a quick, easy journey. And then the hotel that we stayed at in Turin was right in the heart of the area there. So a quick 15-minute walk, or, you can take a 5-minute cab ride, but a really easy kind of transfer after a day of travel.
That's very, very seamless. Certainly navigating an airport to a train station is often frightening to travelers, but when it's so conveniently right there and, effortless, it makes it a much easier, pain-free way to get there. So you took the train. Who were you traveling with on this particular trip?
I went with Zafira, which is a boutique operator. So they do operate in destination. She actually has grandparents that grew up in the area, so strong roots, which was very evident throughout our trip. You could see the relationships with the people at each hotel, each chef that we had some private experiences with. There were definitely we felt like we were traveling with someone famous. They were always so excited to see her.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So you started in Torino, and how long did you stay there? And tell us a little bit about where you stayed and what you did in Torino itself.
Yeah, so Torino used to be the capital of Italy. So it's a beautiful destination. It's so close to France in general. There's some great influences, wonderful pastries, but also the architecture itself has a little bit more of an elegant, romantic feel to it. So wonderful. We did a quick half-day walking tour. We stayed for about 2 nights. I definitely recommend 3 to really get a full transparent view of the city. And the walking tour was perfect, just in the sense that it's a cafe culture kind of town. So to have someone kind of walk us by all the popular spots, the best town squares or piazzas was really wonderful. We picked a spot later on to kind of stop in, get a Turin, which is their local coffee. So that was fun to try for Northern Italy. And it's like layers of espresso, cream, and chocolate. So wonderful. And if you're in the fall, a nice little pick me up to keep us going. But that was a wonderful way to kind of see the town. We saw the old Parliament buildings, beautiful cathedrals, and they actually have a museum, which is close to Cairo, I believe, second, for the Egyptian artifacts that they have there. So an interesting stop for Italy, but definitely something to stop and see. And then from there, we did a private chef experience with Chef Luca, and he does individual design menus for couples, groups, but we did get to do that in his home restaurant. So that was a really unique experience where we were walking the town square. We just walked up to his old, I believe, 18th century apartment building. There's beams on the floor, on the ceilings there. Then you've got the large shutter windows. So it really does feel like you're making Italy homey and a part of the city with that sort of experience.
Fabulous. And what did your cooking experience sort of entail while you were there? Were you watching? Was it interactive? Was it just
for the chef experience?
For the chef.
Yeah. So it was our group, and he would come out and he'd present wine pairings with each course. And of course, they're very authentic to the region and area. But other than that, it was just a nice way to kind of catch up and have a moment with our group. It was interesting though, he did say that the largest open air market in the area is right outside his window. So he's developed great relationships with a lot of the farmers in the area. So everything he picks is very local produce and he really goes with the seasons. But happy to take any allergies, set it up for more romantic, like just 2 people settings. But he has a couple of those home restaurants in the area. I was a Michelin star chef who'd sort of made his home here. And so it's very exciting to see his passion for the area too.
I love that. How fun.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that this, after we chat for the next few minutes together, I am going to continue to be hungry. Is Italian food always makes me hungry. So
right. Well, in general for foodies, I think there's 40 plus Michelin star restaurants in Piemonte. So that general region. So great option if you're traveling for the love of Italian food.
Totally. So you were here for 2 nights, and certainly one of the themes that I think on every Advisor Access video we talk about is adding an extra night, and that no one regrets adding an extra night. If you have the time, spend it. It is always worth it, even if it's just for one more fabulous meal.
Absolutely.
So you would recommend 3 nights here, and from Torino, where did you head to after that?
Yeah, so right before we left, we had to make sure that we had some time to do some chocolate tasting. So we stopped at Guido Gobino, which is very famous in the area. Nutella's actually from Torino as well. So another fun fact for the region. But the nice thing is we got to tour the factory before we headed out. And it just made the tasting afterwards so much more exciting. All the chocolate there is still hand tempered. They actually shake the chocolate all day to get the acidity to rise out. So they let us kind of jump up there and smell the acid in the air. So it just made you appreciate the chocolate. And you can find it in every chocolate shop in Torino. So it was cool to get that experience behind the scenes, which was actually right in the city. So it was only about 15 minutes from where we were staying. So definitely an easy stop by if you are staying a little bit longer to check out. Then from there, we did head to the Langhe region. So we went over to more of the medieval towns, the wine region from there. And that's really where you're going to get that off the beaten path experience. So many hilltop towns where you can kind of just explore, walk around, but then they're really known for their red wine as well. So it's the Barolo wine region. And the wineries were incredible. We got to visit a lot of family ties there as well, where you're seeing like 12th generation wineries. So that's just exciting to get those tours and hear about. One thing to mention though is you do need reservations for all of those wineries. I know here in the States, we kind of just can pop in, but some of them are open to the public, some of them aren't, and some of them want to be promoted, and some of them kind of pick and choose. So again, having an operator on site to kind of reach out and ask on your family's behalf if you have a certain interest is a wonderful way to get to see and taste certain varieties.
Wow. Wow. And how many wineries, because I know here sometimes they're quite far apart. How many wineries or tastings would you suggest for a traveler to do maybe in one day if they were passing the region?
I think you could easily just do 2 or 3. I mean, honestly, there's such beautiful atmospheres. I wouldn't, again, this is a region for slow travel. So it's not really one where you'd want to pack it all in. It's one where you'd really want to decide what might be the best fit for you, what you're looking for. And then one of the experiences we had was with Gianni Rosso wineries. And we did do barrel tastings there. So that was quite unique. So I would definitely recommend that. It gives you more of an appreciation for the final product when you can taste it about 3 months prior to being bottled, and then all the way up just to see the way that those flavors do come together. So whether you're a wine connoisseur or not, it really does give you a new appreciation for the process.
And it is a process. It's
yes
to experience for sure. And how many nights were you in this region?
Yeah, we stayed for about 2 nights. So we stayed in one of the medieval towns there. We actually got to stay in a B&B. So this is one of those experiences that we say is ungoogleable, that you cannot find online, but that the operators there have a really great relationship with Zafiro. So the owners of this B&B, it's a buyout property. So it had about 7 rooms, all very unique, and it took them about 20 years to restore. So definitely a product of love, but it had beautiful gardens, pools down looking below. It felt very Tuscan. You could kind of compare it to that, but the standalone tubs, lofted rooms. So very quintessential Italy, I suppose you could say. It was a beautiful stay, and nice to kind of have if you have a group traveling, to be able to buy out that property and use the living room and just experience more of like that homey atmosphere.
Beautiful. And in the same vein, was 2 nights the right amount of time? Would you suggest 3 or more?
I would always suggest longer. So again, we were going just to get a feel of each region so that we're able to promote. I would definitely say you could do 3 nights. And also just so that you're able to enjoy the town. So we're going just to get that first taste. So if you want to fully feel there, I would say at least 3 nights would be excellent. That way you can stop in and just walk around the town, get a drink. You're on the top of the hills, which are known for their roses. So there's lanterns lighting the street. I mean, it's definitely a place that you could just stroll through and spend an extra day just being in that environment.
It just sounds like it's a place where you step back in time.
Yes, absolutely. And again, very off the beaten path. I mean, so you're not going to be running into other tourists really while you're there. I went for a walk that night before we went to dinner, and it was just me. It was 6 p.m. I saw people out getting aperitifs and having dinner, but I had a private trail overlooking this medieval town, and it's just a unique experience to be in a region that's less promoted, and to be able to see those towns in a way that is quite authentic.
Did you have, throughout your trip, did you have any time sort of to yourself? Was it easy to visit shops or visit things on your own? Was there was there a huge language barrier being out here?
Yeah, I would say that there's typically main towns. So in the medieval villages, we definitely you're going to hear Italian. It was actually quite fun to kind of stroll around and hear the Italian music from the rooms coming out from the houses. But for the most part, everywhere we stayed, they were able to transfer us well to where we needed to go next. Once you get to the lake regions or larger towns, you're always going to hear predominant English. But yes, I would say they're not selling to Americans mainly. So I see that as a benefit. The fact that where you're staying, you're probably getting, especially in the Italian lakes that we went to, probably 5% of American tourists at some of those hotels. And I appreciate getting to see that side of Italy.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. That's really wonderful. But
Yeah.
certainly something that we as an advisor have to manage for our clients going, that, that's, we need to make sure that they're aware, that
Absolutely.
it is a truly a path less traveled, but it is a stunning region, well worth visiting,
Yes.
during a trip.
And of
So,
course, when you're staying at those B&Bs, or even we have some castle accommodations there, we would need to talk through exactly what room is best for your preferences. As I mentioned, there are some gorgeous lofts where your beds are up high, and then you've got the standalone tubs. But based on what you're looking for, we'll want to make sure that that does fit your style and preferences. One of the castles we had dinner with does offer that as well, where we could stay overnight, and they actually have a cottage that's popular with honeymoons right out back. So it's a standalone section there where they almost have their own home for that few nights in the medieval towns, and it's overlooking their vineyard. So wonderful experience, and you can have a Michelin star chef there as well, cook dinner for your group if you do rent out that castle.
oh, still hungry. Now I'm also thirsty. So from here, you headed up into the Lake District. So were you transferred by vehicle? Obviously, trains are a little bit less frequent out in this part of the world, but how did you get from here up to the Lake District?
Yeah, so we had a transfer through our operator. So through Zafira, we had a transfer for our group. So we had a small bus. Depending on our size, we can also do a variety of transfers though. So they actually operate with luxury vehicles as well in the area. So later in the trip, we did a Maserati transfer. So depending on what you're looking for, there's a variety of vehicles we could do to get you from one region to the other. The nice thing is that all of the drives for this trip are pretty short. You're looking at about an hour and a half between each region, and gorgeous views. So if you do have those transfers set up, there's no stress on your end, and you can almost view it as part of your experience, some downtime for you in the day, and just to get to see those rolling hills.
And certainly one thing too that I certainly recommend to clients is, some that are interested in self-driving. Well, it's certainly possible to self-drive. You miss a lot when you're self-driving because you're so focused on driving. So having the transfer, especially with a shorter transfer, under 2 hours, to really take in the scenery and enjoy the beauty of the region is well worth it, rather than
Absolutely.
stress of trying to navigate and not really get to take it all in. So it's nice with such short transfers along. So you went up to the Lake District after that. So tell us about where you stayed and what new wonders this region brought.
Yeah, so we got to stay in more of a tranquil lake region. So we saw Lake Orta to start, which everyone sort of knows of Lake Como, Lake Garda. So we wanted to do something a little bit more unique. Lake Orta is beautiful. Again, a little bit more lesser known. The town has a wonderful kind of mix. So we got in, we got some coffee really quick, stopped at a cafe. So we were able to do a walking tour of Sacramonte, which was such a unique experience. Our tour guide walked us throughout the main village area, and then we got to the top of the hill, and there's about 20 or so cathedrals up there. And instead of it being your typical museum where you're having paintings, there are individual statues that are all arranged to create a scene, really. So it looks like a painting from afar, and the closer you get to the cathedral, you're really stepping into that artwork. So a very unique experience. And not only that, but really you're able to get that incredible view of San Julio, the private island, and then the beautiful lake. So once you get up there, you get a little bit of that history and culture to learn about, and then you're able to step out and see where you're headed for the next step in the trip. So we got some beautiful shots from the top looking down into the private island, and then we headed back down, went into the main Piazza Square, had lunch. We had some Aperol Spritz looking over the lake, and then headed on a boat transfer. So it was only about 8 minutes or so. And then you're on San Julio, the private island, which is from, I believe, the 18th century. We were able to see some of the cathedrals there. Interesting was some of them actually had some graffiti that was on the walls. So you could kind of see the layers of terracotta that was then peeling back. And just seeing how people had painted over it and then continued through. So it was quite a unique experience. And right now, the only people on the island are going to be part of the monastery there. So it was just unique to kind of see it be a silent town. And as you walk along the path, there are meditating rituals so that you can look up and experience what the island is meant for. So I believe, it's just a unique, different kind of transfer. And then once you leave the silent island, there's plenty of more of those local paths along the main town. So you can just sort of walk around the entire island. And that's what we did. So we spent the afternoon just kind of walking the trail around the lake, and it felt very comfortable. It felt very private, and really just enjoyed that experience with our group to see how it was not commercialized.
It's so refreshing. It's so refreshing to hear that places that are that quiet and peaceful still exist in the world, because it's so easy to go to big cities and get caught up with everything that's, as you said, commercialized, and forget that that's not how it always was. And there are still places that are accessible that you can visit, and certainly guests should not be intimidated by visiting them, because when working with a wonderful partner, wonderful travel advisor, it makes it very easy. It's very accessible. So that sounds spectacular, and you're painting such a beautiful picture of the whole day, and the whole experience is it's wonderful. So you stayed out here for another couple of nights as well, and was there other foodie experiences, wine experiences, hiking experiences? What sort of other activities would one do out in this lake region?
Right. So we took a boat transfer from there to right off the shores of Lake Orta was Casa Fantini. So we were able to stay there. That was probably my favorite property of the trip. It's a family run property where they actually vacation themselves, and then they decided to turn it into a boutique hotel. So it only has about 11 rooms. They're all lake facing with beautiful floor to ceiling balconies, windows, and it really does feel like a spa retreat. So they say the living room is the heart of the hotel. They'll do a happy hour there, and it sort of has a long wooden table that really just makes you want to sit and gather. And of course, everything is pointed in the direction of the lake. So no matter where you are in that hotel, you're looking out at that beautiful scenery there. My favorite part, though, was the shower in our room. Was its own sauna. So you could go in there and it would turn into a steam room. So they are building a spa on the second floor, but until then, you're still quite set up well.
That sounds very relaxing. I love that.
Yes, it was beautiful.
I love that. So as far as other things to do in this region that you may not have gotten to experience, and this extends to sort of your entire trip, what are some other activities that you might recommend for travelers visiting this part of Italy?
Right. So they do have a lot of lake activities. So you're able to go kayaking out. You're able to do some water sports as well. It was a little bit colder when we went. So we really did a lot more walking around, stopping in a lot of the shops, and just kind of doing more of a foodie trip, if you will. And then really it's just kind of exploring that silent island. Like I mentioned, a lot of people will spend a full day doing that meditation trail. Casa Fantini actually did write a book on lake time. So really their premise with that is that it is a chance to slow down and relax and rejuvenate. So they have a garden right out front with a pool, with a nice tranquil waterfall, chairs set up. So it'd be a great opportunity to sit down with a book and relax while you're in that area there. But again, this is one of those properties that only has typically 5% of American travelers. So it really is just a unique environment for us to be in and to be able to experience a different side of the world and the culture there as well. We did have dinner there. So that was a unique experience as well, just to have them set that up and do the wine pairings and do the full tour there. They had Sicilian red shrimp, which was fun to kind of see that blend of the Southern and then Northern with the risotto. So this is not your location if you're going for pizza. Everything is going to be more risotto and more of that northern side of Italy. So the food was incredible, but definitely unique.
And how many nights would you recommend that one stay here?
Yeah, I think again, Casa Fantini and Lake Orta in general, it really is depending on what you're looking for your trip. I know a lot of people will go for yoga and more of a retreat style. So 2 nights would be excellent. 3 nights would kind of give you that chance to really divulge and just enjoy. But yes, 2 to 3 nights would probably be appropriate. And then you can kind of go on and explore the lakes nearby. Mm-hmm.
And with a trip sort of this style, certainly the activities that you did on the trip are definitely geared towards adults, but would you say that this is more of a family or friends traveling together type of region, or for families? If so, what type of age would you suggest for kids? Obviously, wine tasting skews a little bit older, but kind of could it be tailored, I guess is the better question.
Yeah, so we did meet the owners at Casa Fantini, and they did have a little girl with them as well. So it is sweet in that sense. Like we've mentioned, for a lot of these properties, they are family owned. So there is more of that family presence in general, where they do cater towards children. But again, with these being lesser known, the activities are going to be more adult focused. I would say it's a great family destination in the sense that it's not crowded. We saw several Italian families with strollers walking around. So it really is kind of dependent on the children, and more outdoor activities would be best. The nice thing is it's not all museums. Everything's more outdoor and spread out. So you're really getting the culture from the views and the food. And that's a good way to experience it as a group or as a family. And a lot of these properties can be buyouts. So you do get that space with that option for families or children traveling. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And so you wrapped up at the Lake District, and where did you go after that?
Yeah, so we headed over to Laqua by the lake from there, which was a little bit opposite to its sister property, which is Villa Crespi. The nice thing is Lake Aqua is a little bit more modern. It has a very beach club vibe almost. So it almost reminded me of somewhere in Santorini. So you pull up and you see these lounge chairs with the infinity pool overlooking the lake, and then they've got the bonfires and then the beach club for drinks behind. So definitely very new, a very exciting property. This is definitely where you are able to rent some of those electric bikes, which is a great time and way to see the town and kind of get out there and explore more. And also such beautiful views. So you're almost more at the top of the hill at this property. So when you take those electric bikes down, which we did at one point into the main town area, we got gelato, but you're really kind of experiencing that and just strolling down the hill and seeing those lake views. And then we just did a quick little walk around the village there and headed back up. But a great half day option for you to stop along the way and see those views. But from there, from Laqua, you're able to do a quick transfer, and that's included since they are sister properties. You can experience both with Villa Crespi, which would be much more traditional in the sense that it was an Italian family that fell in love with Morocco. So lots of Moroccan influences at this property, and it looks very historic. You can see it peering down from the lake, just with the size and just beautiful presence of it. So it feels like you're going into a castle, and each room is very ornate, very designed well. And my favorite part was the ornate bathrooms that then opened up into the lake view. So you've got that beautiful shutters looking out. Yeah. And they also have a 2-star Michelin restaurant there, which has indoor seating and a terrace seating. So a great kind of opportunity to say, what would be your preference to stay the night? And then you're able to experience a different sort of ambiance by going back and forth. So,
and how far are they apart from one another?
Probably within 10 minutes.
Oh,
so
okay.
Not far.
So it's not like you need to pack up and move. It's you just go and visit and then come back.
So that's why you could kind of pick a home base based on what you'd prefer for your style, and then experience the other one with a quick half day trip or so.
An easy transfer. Lovely. I'm starting to sense a theme of love of fancy and very cool bathrooms and cool features in bathrooms. So,
well, when you have views like that, I mean, you need whatever you're getting ready to be part of the experience.
No kidding. So from here, did you carry on further, or was this the culmination of your trip?
Yeah, so from here we went to the Borromean Islands. So that was our next stop in Lake Maggiore. So we switched to a new lake district, and what was really beautiful about this, we really could see the Alps. So it's really surrounded by the Swiss Alps, and you see that the snow caps kind of coming down, but our environment was 70. So it's such a unique experience to see the temperature difference, and then just those views with the lake below was gorgeous. And the Borromean Islands themselves are such a unique experience because they're really Italian gardens. So we visited the Bella Island, and then we were able to get a private tour of those gardens after we toured some of the properties on Stresa. So that's a quick transfer as well. You go straight from Stresa. You can see it right in the middle of the lake. So about a 10-minute transfer there. And then you can explore the gardens for the day. And on that island, we had lunch, and we are able to offer some very exclusive homes there. So if you wanted to stay, it almost felt like more of like a writer's retreat. So they've got loft buildings with like a kitchen on the 3rd floor, bedrooms on the 2nd floor. And it's really something that we could rent for a month or a week or whatever you'd be looking for. So we've had some people do that in the past and they've been successful, but they're looking to add on to those properties. So that's something that's offered exclusively through Zaffiero and her relationships on site, so that you could actually stay on these Borromean islands.
Wow. That sounds,
Yeah.
I leave my house tomorrow and go stay on a beautiful island in the middle of an Italian lake. That sounds divine.
Yes. And the Italian gardens are just incredible with the statues and the views, and they've got the white peacocks walking around. So just a very unique experience. The other island nearby is more of an English garden, which is also gorgeous. And they can set up private events there if you wanted to rent that out and do a private picnic or private party. That's something that we can arrange as well. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful. And how long were you on this lake?
Just one night. So we stopped in, we saw it quickly. We were able to do a full tour, see a few of the properties there that we can offer. And I would definitely say if you're looking to do a ski trip, there's some great ski towns once you get further up there, but it's really a year-round destination. And then Stresa itself is a little bit more on the tourist path. So it's a little bit more built up. So you will be able to find more shopping in that area if you're looking to kind of go into a major town. Mm-hmm.
And from here, did you return back to Milan to fly home, or did you?
Yeah, so then we headed back to Milan. We did stay at Chateau Montfort, which was gorgeous. It's a relay and chateau property, so trending on that incredible food that we've been doing. They're known for their food, but a unique thing about this property too is that they have a secret spa room. So they have one of those old bookcases where you can pull a book out and it opens a couples massage area behind the bookshelf. So that's kind of a fun, unique experience. Also, the rooms themselves are very fairy tale-esque. They have some Cinderella setup rooms where you'll see more of like the pumpkins in statues, and then the round beds with the different unique touches to make it feel like Cinderella's castle. The room that I stayed at was to resemble a oriental garden. So above my bed, there was lightings for flowers. So very unique a property in general to stay in the heart of Milan. The Galleria was within 10 minutes, so not too far of a walk. And then we did do some tours of the Galleria Vic Hotel nearby, which looks out onto the Galleria. So you truly are staying within that. So anyone looking into a fashion trip would certainly be impressed by their ability to have a terrace view of the Galleria, and great for people watching.
I know I've had in the past, when I've had clients go to Northern Italy and beyond, they're always pretty quick to want to leave Milan. And I always feel like give it a couple of nights, because there are certainly things to see and explore historically from the fashion side. And it's such a great city that most people think it's just industrial and they should move on and they shouldn't spend any time there. And I always, if you have an extra night, you'll never regret it. More often than not, either, it's a great meal in town, or, seeing the Last Supper. There's a lot to do in Milan, and most that I think most travelers don't really realize just how much there is there. So and the breadth of properties. There's some great hotel options, very unique ones like the one you just described, that make it even better, that make it an even more wonderful experience. So.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Fabulous. Well, I am ready to go tomorrow. I feel like I say that and we talk about somewhere fun, but this sounded like such an incredible trip and a beautiful time of year to do it. And Italy definitely can be a year-round destination, no matter which part you're visiting. It's beautiful no matter what. And the food is always good.
Yes.
Is there anything that we missed talking about today? I feel like you covered everything that I could possibly think of asking you about about the destination, and so it's been such a pleasure. But did we miss anything?
No, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time. And it really is a truly curated itinerary with each client. Like I kind of mentioned, we did it in 7 days and it's just enough to kind of get a taste. But really, you would want to choose what regions you'd be looking to explore, and that would be a good fit for you. And when we mentioned having people on site in each of these regions of Piemonte, they also are people that would special in what you're looking for. So whether it's a culinary, a cultural, a physical trip, we can definitely make sure that you're getting that experience and work with a partner that really fits what you're looking for. So there's some great hiking trails if you're looking for more of an active experience. And then the history there is also wonderful to kind of hear about it being the first capital for Italy and the history of the Savoy family. So tons of options. That was just sort of a quick run through. But the nice thing too is, you can absolutely use Milan, stay at some of our favorite well-known hotel properties. But this really is a region where you're getting into more of those boutique offerings. And knowing the right providers to provide those luxury castle stays that are up to your standards is really what will make or break this trip.
Completely.
And yeah, they did a wonderful job providing that experience. Mm-hmm.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Kate. This has been just such a joy. I hope we have more trips to talk about in the near future. So thank you everybody for joining us for today's Advisor Access. And if you enjoyed our video, please subscribe below and you'll get notified about our next one. So thank you again, Kate. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.